is different. Based on all of his activity in the last year, it's all about himself. It's selfish. That's the opinion I have of his behavior up until this point. So he basically, by being signed by the Patriots, everything is important there, okay? Walkthroughs, meetings, practices, meetings after practice. Everything is important. Saturday walkthrough, you gotta be there. You gotta be present. He has to change. Is that possible? Can he change and be someone that can be reliable on a team that needs him?
Teddy, I thought that this guy, look, I would have loved to have coached this guy. I've said it, publicly. I've done all that. I'll coach anybody. I don't want to coach this dude. I mean, number one, I think he's a phony. And the reason I say that is he gets signed with the Raiders, happiest guy on the planet, right? Then he talks about how he's going to hold his teammates accountable. He's even going to fine them. Really? How about you fine yourself? I've never seen a guy with more issues than this. Now, look, I know I couldn't coach him, which is really saying something. But if there's anybody on the planet that can, Randy, you mentioned it, the greatest coach in the history of our game, the greatest player in the history of our game, and Tom Brady. Now you just got to play.
That's it.
But you know what? It ain't going to be. Ben's not going to be there to save you anymore when you're not in the right spot. Tom's going to be like, how's this really going to work? I mean, he is going to have to flip it. And we'll see.
This is over the course of an entire season, okay? And worst case, okay, maybe he's there 5 games. 5 games, and he's able to fake it for that long. And I do say fake because I think in Antonio Brown right now, I don't know how he is going to conform to this way they want in that locker room. I know how it is in that locker room, how he can do that consistently every single week. A saying Coach Belichick likes to say, string them together.
Yes.
String the good weeks together. Don't give me one and stop. Give me 16 in a row, Antonio. Can he do that?
Teddy, you said in New England, everything's important. You know what's not important? What's on your Instagram story? And that's what we have seen as important to Antonio Brown. I believe this. The New England Patriots, they have 6 Lombardis. You go to Foxborough, they have 6 Lombardi trophies there. That might not be their greatest accomplishment. If they're able to get Antonio Brown to conform to the Patriot way for 16 games plus playoffs. That would be, to me, that would be their greatest accomplishment, and I would give them a standing ovation. I don't see it happening.
Hey, Ripley's, believe it or not.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but I don't see it happening.
It's not only even conforming to what the Patriots way is in that locker room. It's how about diminished targets? How about weeks when we want to establish the run and it's play action?
But that's the Patriot way. That's the Patriot way. I don't need to be the focal point of the offense. Like, you might get all the carries week 4, week 5. You may not get a touch. Like, that's the Patriot way. You might get benched in the Super Bowl, and then we don't talk about it. It's a non-issue. It was coach's decision. Like, that's the Patriot way. It's team. It's we before me. And I'm sorry, I love Antonio Brown. I love watching him play. But he is not we before me. He is me before we.
I believe that Belichick and the system is going to hide some things, like taking it from the media's eyes. But I think when you look at it, I said that I'm ready for this guy to play football. If he's still the #1 wide receiver in the National Football League, now it's time to prove it. You're with the GOAT. You're with the GOAT head coach. You're with the GOAT quarterback. It's time to put up or shut up. I don't know if this is his last stop or not, but he's playing for 1-year deals. I just want the man to play football. That's all I want.
100% of the players in the National Football League want to win. 100%, and including Antonio Brown. At least I think.
No, I don't buy that. And the reason I don't buy that, we saw what happened in Week 17 with the Steelers last year. Didn't care a whole lot about winning or showing up that week. In Oakland, he's proven he won't even show up. Not only won't he show up, he won't keep in-house stuff in-house, which does not go over well in New England. He won't be honest. We know that's been an issue. And we know he's all about sharing, like Matt said, on Instagram. He already did it. If you checked his Instagram this morning or last night, already with the Patriots. Teddy, I just don't see this working in New England. How many games do you think this guy lasts there?
I'd be surprised if he lasts the season without having some type of issue. And then how the New England Patriots handle it once that issue comes up, because there's going to be an issue. And there is a player in that wide receiver room right now that needs a distraction-free environment to have success already.
Yes,
we know who that is, right?
Mr. Gordon.
It's Josh
Yes,
Gordon.
yes.
So with Josh Gordon now in that room, he needs to focus himself to be there all 16 also. So now you've got two wild cards in Gordon and AB, and you're wondering, can they hold it together for an entire season? I think Josh doesn't need this type of distraction to have success for him. And Antonio Brown, I mean, it's going to be a room that we have to monitor the entire season, whether Brady steps in, Belichick steps in. Because if I'm a captain on that team, okay, coach, I don't want to have to deal with this. You deal with it. You handle it. If he's on his phone in meetings, if he's late for meetings or whatever it is, Belichick, you brought him in. It's your problem because I got other things to worry about. And you knew what this was coming in. So handle it, please, so I can handle my role on defense, special teams, whatever it may be.
It's been said on Twitter a lot that really what we learned from all of this is that Mike Tomlin deserves the Nobel Peace
Yes.
Prize
Oh my God.
for what
He had
he
to put
dealt
up with
with.
half
Coach of the
this.
year,
in
Nobel Peace
Pittsburgh.
Prize.
Give it all to him. Our apologies. All right, our Mort and Adam have been all over this from the beginning. Shoot, Adam even got a shout out on Antonio Brown's video there. Guys, what's the latest?
Oh, that was pretty scorching hot, Sam. Hey, listen, Sam, you mentioned the social media. I will say that Antonio Brown, during the week, actually sought advice from social media consultants on how he can accelerate his release from the Raiders. And this all started with him releasing the letter from Mike Mayock that he was being fined. He put that out on social media, which led to their confrontation. Now, Drew Rosenhaus, the agent on this, said there was a robust market for Antonio Brown. He's not lying. I checked around. There were teams seriously interested. Hey, Russell Wilson was kind of campaigning for him in Seattle because he worked with him in L.A. During the offseason at various times. And then, yes, Cleveland Browns. Hey, John Dorsey, the general manager, he'd consider anything. But what they all found out is that this was pretty much a fait accompli on Saturday morning. As far as the Steelers go, think about this. The teams that they were kind of interested in, the Browns played Steelers twice a year in the division. Seattle plays the Steelers next week. And as far as Bill Belichick goes, he's always had an interest in Antonio Brown when he became available this offseason. He actually offered a first-round pick to the Steelers. Kevin Colbert to the Steelers wanted more, but really didn't want to trade him at all. So he basically went on and took the 3rd and 5th from the Raiders. And they don't have to defend Brown tonight. I'm talking about the Steelers. But maybe in January. In January.
And think about that. Go back to March because the Patriots were one of the first teams to reach out to the Steelers to try to get Antonio Brown. And the Steelers, as you mentioned, made it very clear we're not interested in trading him to a competitor. So rather than having to give up a draft pick or picks to the Steelers, the Patriots wait their turn and get him for free after Antonio Brown acted the way he did in Oakland. We should say, on Wednesday, during practice, Antonio Brown lit up the defensive backs, embarrassed them, had a great practice, and then after the practice, went to the Raiders and said he thought he needed to get an MRI on his hamstring because his hamstring was bothering him. The Raiders were very suspicious of that. They sent him home after the confrontation with Mike Mayock. They told him on Thursday morning to stay home. And then Thursday night, Antonio Brown was supposed to meet with John Gruden. Only Antonio Brown didn't show up to that meeting. He stood up John Gruden on Thursday night. That led to the situation where ultimately he gets released and finds his way to the team that wanted to trade for him in March, but didn't have to give up anything in the end, Sam.
Yeah, guys, it was just always something. When we forgot about the feet, the helmet, all the other stuff that was involved. We are not letting the Raiders off the hook, though. We'll have more on what this means for them and their future this season later in the show. All right, let's get back to the guys who are actually playing today. How about that? It's time for our opening kick. We kick things off in New England. Teddy, the Steelers offense is going to look a little bit different today.
Well, Sam, the culture shift is complete. If you ask them in that locker room, they've got everyone's different. Based on all of his activity in the last year and whatever, it's all about himself. It's selfish. That's the opinion I have of his behavior up until this point. So he basically, by being signed by the Patriots, everything is important there, okay? Walkthroughs, meetings, practices, meetings after practice. Everything is important. Saturday walkthrough, you gotta be there. You gotta be present. He has to change. Is that possible? Can he change and be someone that can be reliable on a team that needs him?
Teddy, I thought that this guy, look, I would have loved to have coached this guy. I've said it, publicly. I've done all that. I'll coach anybody.
is different. Based on all of his activity in the last year and whatever, it's all about himself. It's selfish. That's the opinion I have of his behavior up until this point. So he basically, by being signed by the Patriots, everything is important there, okay? Walkthroughs, meetings, practices, meetings after practice. Everything is important. Saturday walkthrough, you gotta be there. You gotta be present. He has to change. Is that possible? Can he change?